the truth about the Church of the Holy Sepulcher in Jerusalem, and Hadrian's Temple of Venus. When Abraham entered the land of Canaan, there were a number of tribes already living in the area. There were the Hivites, the Girgashites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Hittites, Canaanites, Amorites, and Amalekites. After Joshua's conquest of the land, it was divided by the 12 tribes of Israel. And at that time, what became Jerusalem was part of Benjamin and part of Yehuda. But Mount Moriah was owned by a man named Araunah, who was a Jebusite. During the reign of King David, we see the city of David coming to life, and he actually purchases that land from the Jebusite after he's told to build an altar to the Lord there, which he doesn't do, but his son Solomon eventually does. Solomon builds the first temple on Mount Moriah in 966 BC, and it stands for 380 years. Until it's destroyed in the year 586 by the Babylonians. Now 70 years later, the Jews return and begin to build Zerubbabel's temple. That's in the year 516. That stands for 496 years, until Herod comes along and he's going to renovate the temple and the entire Temple Mount. That's in the year 20 BC. Now his temple is not completed until the modern year of 63. In the middle of that time span, John the Baptist is executed by Herod in about the year 30, and Jesus is executed by Herod in about the year 33. 7 years later, after the temple is complete, it is destroyed by the Roman general Titus in the year 70. 65 years after the temple of Herod was destroyed, the Roman Emperor Hadrian decides to rebuild the city of Jerusalem, which had been completely destroyed, and he decides to build it in the style of a Roman city, and he renames it Aelia Capitolina. Now, where the Church of the Holy Sepulcher is today, he built the Temple of Venus. And during the construction, he discovered a rock tomb that was empty, and he filled it in, raised the foundation, and that's where he built the Temple of Venus. He also, where the Temple Mount was, built the Temple of Jupiter. He put statues of himself, Roman columns, all kinds of theaters. But that area where the Church of the Holy Sepulcher is today, before that was the Temple of Venus that Hadrian had built. Almost 200 years later, in the year 326, the Roman Emperor Constantine announces that he's going to turn the Temple of Venus into a Christian temple. He rediscovers during the construction the same tomb that Hadrian had discovered and filled in, and he announces that this must be the tomb of Jesus. Keep in mind that from the time that Moshe had contact with God, he was told to tell the people they should never bury the dead inside city limits. They were always to be buried outside the city walls. Now, these are some of the things that can be found inside the Church of the Holy Sepulcher today. And in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly why this is not only improbable, but absolutely impossible. Stay tuned for part 2 so you can see exactly why things just don't add up.